everybody. Thank you for joining. And I know it's very hot outside, and so one of the reasons we're trying this format is to sort of get to people wherever they are, hopefully enjoying air condition while we are able to continue on this important work. And so I wanted to get together today really to one, take some questions, but two, sort of outline some of how I've been working very aggressively over the last over 6 months to respond to the Trump administration. And frankly, the betrayal that we've seen, the broken promises that we've seen from the president, his administration, and the actions that they've taken that have hurt Rhode Islanders. Uh, we see the negative impact of their agenda on costs that I hear about every single day, whether directly from Rhode Islanders as I traverse the first congressional district, or as we read the headlines in so many of our papers and on TV and online and so much more. Uh, this all culminated in what I call and will continue to call the big ugly bill. They can call it something else. I'm going to call it the big ugly bill. Coincidentally, BU also stands for bull. And I think there's a lot of that behind what they claim that it does with the moniker that they've given it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to result in tens of thousands of Rhode Islanders losing health care. It's going to make it harder to get by, whether it is the elimination of food and nutrition assistance, uh, making it more difficult for people to have college access, and combating some of our attempts to go to a clean energy economy. And this will make energy costs rise as well. So, across the board, what you see from this administration has been chaotic, confusing, challenging, and frankly, in many ways, represented itself as corrupt, and who gets empowered. It's separated from who gets hurt. And the people who get hurt are all across Rhode Island. So I've been responding in lots of significant ways. One is what I refer to. I've spent my time up and down the district, all across the state, talking to Rhode Islanders, whether it's the insanity of a uncertainty driven tariff regime. I had a great conversation, a meaningful conversation with manufacturers for from every corner of the district, from jewelry to textiles to complex uh, photographic and imaging services, all who have components in their operations and their supply chains that come from Asia, Europe, places that are seeing, the perception of deal making from the president, but really we have not actually seen any real written agreement when it comes to tariffs. I've spent time across the district talking about the challenges that will be faced and borne by our healthcare system when you go to community healthcare centers like East Bay Community Action Program. When I've spent time at Women and Infants Hospital talking about the impact on prenatal care, spend time talking with behavioral health leaders in this state, even the impact potentially on dental programs when I've spent time at EBCAP's Newport facility. So we've seen in those conversations a real set of fears manifested in this legislation, the big ugly bill that so many across our community are facing. And then, of course, will come up to me expressing a great fear that they have for bedrock programs like Social Security and law. And so um, I've heard from people, my friend Al, who I saw at a town hall, talking about his fear of Social Security being undercut. And in fact, what this legislation does is hurt Social Security in the long term, where there is a potential and a high likelihood, if we stay on this course, that there will be cuts to Social Security benefits, right? This comes from a president who said that he was going to protect Social Security. And I never believed it for a second. A bill that I co-sponsored to strengthen Social Security. So that's been a big part of it, moving around the district. Second big part has been around legislation. Again, the legislative process is not merely passing things, but doing everything you can to present a contrast in the case. So I'm on the budget committee in the House. So I spent hours and hours, one time a 12-hour session, another time waking up at 3:30 in the morning to speak on the House floor, to speak to the wrongs of the big ugly law. And as we legislate, we also are legislating all sorts of challenges that we see from the Trump administration, specifically combating this boneheaded rescissions package, combating cuts to essential services like the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration and NOAA, where I have a bill called the Stop NOAA Closures Act that I introduced last week, because that's important. We're in the middle of the Atlantic hurricane season. If we do not have the power to have our scientists, our National Weather Service, and others protect us, we'll be in a bad way. Another big thing that I've done is participate in the litigation, right? Over 16 amicus briefs have joined on as part of our efforts to combat the administration, everything from the boneheaded cuts at the Department of Education to asserting Congress's role on tariffs, to working against their attempts to put forward to end birthright citizenship, and so much more. And so I will continue to affix my name on these uh, key briefs before the court, so that we are able to fully assert Congress's role and stop the administration of the courts when their actions are deemed unconstitutional and inconsistent with how we carry out our laws. And then, of course, the work that we will continue to do is agitate. We're going to be loud. We're going to be vocal. And so I have seen us have some wins in some areas, right? We have been able to get that essential education funding that was withheld, both for the summer programs and for the school year. But that is something that we have to keep going on. We've had an ability to stop the administration in its tracks when we have garnered enough public support, and sometimes on a bipartisan basis. I'm also doing that on the Foreign Affairs Committee, where you've seen me go after the erosion of America's role as a leader in the world, especially when it comes to humanitarian aid. So supporting great enterprises like Adija and much more, do what we've done as leaders in this world and continue to advance key priorities in a way that aligns with our values. So I'll stop there. I could go on a long ways, but I did want to set the table with that's how we're going to respond to we're going to keep being vocal. We're going to keep trying to pass laws. We're going to keep meeting the moment in the courts, and we are going to win in the long term by projecting the values of Rhode Islanders forward.